Valentine's Day is here. There's love in the air amongst other chemicals being spewed out into the atmosphere. But I'm here to help you get a little alcohol in your bellies. Today I'm going to be recommending 3 Valentine's Day cocktails and pairing them alongside 3 romantic movies. That way you and your lovers have something to drink and also something to watch this holiday season. Or you can kill all of these yourself. I'm not here to pass judgment. But be sure to let me and everyone else know what your go-to romantic movies are down in the comments. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. First up is the romantic comedy, the most easily digestible and readily available section of the romance genre. For this, I wanted to go with a simple, delicious classic cocktail to pair alongside it, and that is the Pink Lady. This is a Prohibition-era cocktail, much like some of history's greatest drinks, and it is beautiful to look at and easy to drink. It's essentially a gin sour with some additional flavor components that really makes it something special. To get started, go ahead and grab yourself a cocktail shaker. First, you're going to be needing a little bit of grenadine at 1/4 ounce. Follow that with some fresh lemon juice at 3/4 ounces. For alcoholic ingredients, you're going to be using 1/2 ounce of Applejack, which is essentially a apple brandy. And for the main spirit, 1.5 ounces of gin. And now to give it a nice foamy complexion, we are going to be adding 1 egg white. You're welcome to skip the egg white if that's not really your speed. You'll just have a little bit different of a texture in the final product. If you are using the egg white, first you're going to want to dry shake, which means to shake it for about 15 to 20 seconds without any ice. Just make sure you keep that thing sealed tight so it doesn't explode all over you. That's for later in the night, am I right? But then once you're done with that, go ahead and throw some ice in your shaker and shake to chill. And once you're done, you can go ahead and strain the drink into a coupe glass. And if you'd like to garnish it, you can go ahead and throw a cherry on top. And there you go, now you have the Pink Lady. If you're a fan of whiskey sours or anything within that family, then you'll probably really enjoy this. That nice and frothy body gives the cocktail a very light complexion to it, but the flavors still have quite a bit of punch. You definitely taste the botanicals of the gin, and you get a nice little side flavor with the Applejack bringing in a little bit of apple. It can be a tad on the drier side depending on how much grenadine you end up using and also the sugar content of your grenadine. So if you want to sweeten it up just a little bit, feel free to throw a little bit of simple syrup in there when you're making it as well. All right, so the movie. There are so many rom-coms to choose from. Some of my personal favorites include classics like When Harry Met Sally and Groundhog Day, along with some more modern helpings like Drinking Buddies, Crazy Rich Asians, and Cha-Cha Real Smooth. But I'm gonna be picking a classic for this section, and given some recent tragic events, it's never been a more opportune time than to revisit or experience for the first time The Princess Bride. This love letter to classic romantic fantasy from the late great Rob Reiner is one of those films I think everyone needs to see no matter what age they are. It's this perfect blend of cheesy cliches and silly scenarios that never feel dated thanks to the charming and witty script. There are one-liners out the wazoo here. It's an infinitely repeatable film that only gets funnier with subsequent watches. It never really feels like it's half-assing itself either. It's not exactly a cheap parody of the genre because it's smart enough to know what to lean into and what to poke fun at, making it far more of an homage. Carrie Elwes is eternally charming as the swashbuckling Wesley, while Robin Wright brings most of the film's sense of longing with the ridiculously named Princess Buttercup. And the film has one of the best supporting casts ever with the likes of Mandy Patinkin, Wallace Shawn, and Andre the Giant injecting so much charm and memorability into this thing. There's an air of classic Disney film to this with its set design and classical score, but don't think this is just a simple story of medieval love. This is truthfully one of the funniest movies of all time, perfectly suitable for all sensibilities thanks to silver-tongued dialogue and great visual gags. It's a goofy adventure, but love is always at the center of the story, being that unmeasurable power that keeps us going through our darkest moments. It is a ton of fun and the perfect choice if you're looking for something a little bit on the lighter side. Next up is the romantic drama, if you're looking for something a little bit more sultry and serious. And for such a film, I have the deliciously bittersweet Love and Murder cocktail, which comes to us from Nick Bennett at the Porchlight in New York City. It's a bit of a riff on The Last Word, which is one of my all-time favorite cocktails, so I'm super excited to make this one. Like the last cocktail, you're gonna be needing a shaker, so go ahead and grab that. First, we're gonna be starting with a little bit of simple syrup at 3/4 ounces, followed by some fresh lime juice at 1 ounce. And then for our alcoholic ingredients, we're gonna be using a little bit of green chartreuse at 1 ounce. And then I'm gonna be using 1 ounce of Aperol. However, the original recipe does call for Campari. I didn't happen to have it on hand. These are somewhat similar, not exactly comparable, but similar enough. If you have Campari on hand, definitely recommend using that. And then I'm gonna be adding a small splash of a saline solution that was made 5 parts water, 1 part salt. Once you're done, go ahead and fill your shaker with ice and shake to chill. When you're done shaking, go ahead and strain everything into a coupe glass. And there you go, now you have the Love and Murder. Sometimes you don't think the saline solution is gonna come through in a pretty flavor-forward cocktail, but it really does here. And that little extra bit of salt really pairs well alongside the bitterness of the Aperol and the black peppercorn notes of the green chartreuse. It's a very punchy cocktail. It's definitely not as approachable as something like the Pink Lady, but it's still incredibly well-rounded. You're experiencing every one of the flavors in different layers with each sip. It's slightly tart, slightly peppery, slightly bitter, and overall this is a great cocktail. I think I still prefer the original Last Word more, but this is a great pairing if you're looking to watch something a little bit more on the bittersweet side. So if you're looking for something a little bit more on the serious side, but still in the lovey-dovey range, there's plenty to choose from. You could probably pick any one of the films from the Before trilogy. All of them are terrific. But there's also Call Me By Your Name, Brokeback Mountain, In the Mood for Love, Moulin Rouge probably counts. All of those are fantastic, but there's one particular one I always drift back to, and it's a fairly recent one, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Set on a quiet island where all there really is to do is paint, swim, and fall in love, a hired painter and a soon-to-be married-off woman become enwrapped in a tantalizing fling whose very existence seems to be running on borrowed time. This thing is like a bonfire, quiet and crackling, yet raging with heat and passion. This is essentially yearning personified, a moment of fleeting love that the characters spend a good chunk of this film dancing around and avoiding, which only makes their inevitable union all the more fading. They know their time is short and destiny has other plans for them, so it's all about etching that person into your mind before fate snatches them away. A painting, a chapter in a book, a song, all tools designed to hold the memory of what once was in place long after time has moved on. Despite its reserved and subtle aura, this thing is still brimming with sensuality and allurement in ways that tantalize you and in ways that leave you feeling kind of empty by the end, but in a deserved way. This film moves me to no end, and the last few minutes makes for one of the most sad yet uplifting comments on the longevity of true love, which persists even when the mind tries its best to forget. A real hell of a film that's great if you're looking to have less laughs and maybe more tears this holiday season. And our last category is going to be our out there pick. Films that are unequivocally about love and romance, but approach the subject in a bit more of an unconventional manner. So for our final cocktail, I wanted to move away from your normal, simply composed cocktails and do something a little different. That would be our hot caramel buttered rum, a nice and warm cocktail that's gonna put your spice cabinet to work to make a soothing, comforting drink for you and your boo to snuggle up with. No shaker for this one. You are just going to need a glass. However, you want to make sure it is a tempered glass, something that can sustain a hot drink inside of it, and preferably something with a handle too. And in your glass or mug, you're going to be adding 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, a little bit on the softer side, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. If you want, you can go ahead and mix those in the glass, make a little bit of a batter, and then once you're done, you can go ahead and throw in 1/2 ounce of a caramel syrup, and then follow that up with 2 ounces of a dark rum of your choice. And then finally, you're gonna wanna get a little bit of hot water and pour that on top of your mixture until you fill your glass up. Give it another thorough stir to combine, maybe use a fork just to make sure you're breaking everything up, and then you can go ahead and garnish with a cinnamon stick. And there you go, now you have some hot caramel buttered rum. So deliciously sweet and spiced, I'm not a huge warm drink person, but this is the kind of stuff I can get behind. The butter adds this nice thickness to it, while you get a lot of complexity from the dark rum. I've always found Gosling's rum to stand out in something like this, and it really does here. You can definitely taste it. The caramel still comes forward pretty well. It's nice and sweet. And of course, all those spices are just working in harmony to make this nice wintry cocktail. And if you're watching this from somewhere cold, this might be the cocktail for you this season. And there are plenty of out there films about love and romance to choose from. Anomalisa, an adult animated film about introspection that ironically has one of the most real and genuine sex scenes ever put to film. Her, a film about a guy falling in love with an AI that might be due for a mandatory rewatch considering the age of technology we're living in. Love Lies Bleeding takes things in a grimy, somewhat toxic direction that hits hard and gets the blood pumping all over the body. The Lobster may get so weird that you forget it's about love and the societal constructs that orbit it, but there's definitely a good bit to take away from it about the modern world of dating. All of those are solid choices, but the GOAT for me in this category has to be one of me and my wife's all-time favorites, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Weird little guy Charlie Kaufman just knows how to drill into the very core of love, often showing us the worst of it to almost make you appreciate the good side. This pseudo sci-fi film sees a heartbroken man undergo a procedure to erase the memory of his ex after their breakup, only to realize through his memories that he may have made a terrible mistake. Incredibly unorthodox and strangely composed, this thing is not only a poignant reflection of the importance of remembering our loves and heartbreaks, but it's also an ingenious and engaging puzzle box that is so much fun to watch unravel. It's got hands down my favorite Jim Carrey performance, while the supporting cast of Kate Winslet, Kirsten Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, and Elijah Wood help to round out this weird yet genius film. But beyond its eccentricities, it's an incredibly important message about what we do with the pain that comes from sorrow. Pain is a teacher, and it shouldn't be erased and blotted from your memory. There is something to learn from it, and the haunting possibility of future hurt will always linger because it's part of the human experience. But you have to try, and this movie makes one of the best arguments for continuing to try you'll see. There's a lot to laugh at, a lot to cry over, and a million reasons why you can't go wrong with picking this to be your Valentine's Day watch. So there you go, 3 cocktails and 3 movie recommendations for your Valentine's Day weekend. If you got any good recommendations for movies, leave them down in the comments because honestly, you can enjoy any of these movies and drinks at any time of the year. If you like what you saw here, consider leaving a like and hitting the subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. But thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.